I've heard about Siskiyou, yeah.
That's a cooperative as well.
I talked to, who was the lettuce guy? Frank Morton about this, about nutrition and stuff. And Frank was like, yeah, I use compost and limestone. I was like, Frank Morton? You use this compost and limestone? Don't you understand the role of these trace elements in the enzyme systems and the... I guess he has good land to begin with, but it's a...
Sorry.
No, I want to write the names down. Rowan White, it was with what company?
She's Sierra Seeds in Northern California. Obviously, that's not bioregionally relevant. As bioregionally relevant to people here, but there's still some that
You take them and you plant them here for 1 year, now they're
Yeah.
bioregionally relevant.
And then Don Tipping is at Siskiyou. And he exercises a great degree of oversight over the cooperative that is Siskiyou Seeds.
How do you spell it? Siskiou?
YOU, I think, after that, yeah.
And
And then Will Bonsall.
Will Bonsall is a scatter seed project.
Yep. And now, am I right that John Navazio is working for Johnny's?
He's working for Johnny's now.
That doesn't mean he has control there, but those, like Johnny's and High Moen, who people like us tend to think of as small seed companies compared
Yeah.
to these giant conglomerates, are actually doing a lot of that stuff that you were talking about before.
Absolutely.
That's the main way that they do it. Is
High mowing has.
repackaging.
I've given this course in High Mowing's hometown, and people who run the food co-op in High Mowing's hometown don't want to sell High Mowing seeds because they don't germinate. Same thing you're saying about Southern Exposure. They just have crappy vigor. They don't produce. Seed quality is really important, and just because it's got a name on the label and breeds and comes true to type does not mean this. I grow lots of tomatoes. I grow like 60, 70 varieties of tomatoes. I like to have at least 8 varieties of white tomatoes, 8 varieties of yellow ones, 8 varieties of green ones, stripes, pinks, purples, the whole thing, right? And Baker Creek is the company that's got the best spectrum of variation and variety, and the quality of their seeds is so atrocious, right? You just need to buy the seed and save it, and next year you got half a chance of having some kind of vigor. In general, but Baker Creek, I mean, you're not going to get the variation that you find in Baker Creek that you find anywhere else. Rareseeds.com.
We've had to stop buying from them because it's so terrible.
It's horrible.
At every level. Everything we bought from them is awful.
A, it's expensive.
They started out so good.
It has gotten worse and worse
When they
every
started
year.
out, they were so
Now they're
busy
big and
getting
famous and
some
rich.
rare
You think they would do a better
varieties.
job.
I
Yeah.
didn't get any germination off of them last time.
Yep.
So I quit.
But two generations, and that's what they find in the cattle too. If
Even
you
one
start
generation, but-
improving the nutrition,
Yeah.
you're affecting generations of genetics.
This is, what's exciting here is the opportunity is massive.
Rare seeds.
The opportunity is massive, and no one's doing it. We are, I mean, I've been talking to this guy in Vermont for a couple of years now about this issue, and he has finally committed to coordinating a collaboration amongst BFA growers. So anybody who's registered for this course, you are on our email list, and you will get an email from us every month, generally around the beginning of the month. It will oftentimes go into your bulk mail folder. So if you don't check your bulk email folder, right, promotions it's called on Gmail, I'm not sure what it's called on Yahoo or Hotmail, you will get a newsletter from us every month. If you don't check your bulk mail folder, you'll never know. But there is going to be an active coordination on this topic coming out next month or two for people. This is a really important topic and something I really want to make progress on, and we haven't been able to, but I think we might just this year.
So, who do you recommend we buy seeds
I
from?
don't. I would love to recommend someone. We've got a couple recommendations from over here.
Right,
I wrote them down because it's better than nothing.
Right.
Um,
But you still sort through them and pick out the biggest and best, and, I mean,
what I should do and what I do oftentimes are
right.
not entirely in line. I generally get heirloom or open pollinated seeds. I don't buy hybrids. When I do buy seeds, I try to find the ones. I read the descriptions very closely for the ones that have vigor, that have flavor. Generally, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for variation. I get as many different varieties as I can. If you see my tomato box, you see my every bunch of carrots I sell. They are not the same color. They are not the same shape. radishes, I mean, you name it. I pride myself on variation. You buy 10 pounds of summer squash from me, you got crooknecks, you got, warty ones, you got flat ones. There are all kinds of zucchinis. I mean, you get all kinds of shapes of zucchinis. For me, I consider it to be a successful crop, say, of zucchini or summer squash, if I plant it in the spring and I'm picking it in the fall. And this past year, absolutely categorically, planted in the spring, was picking them middle of October. We came down to like 19 degrees or something like that, and that killed just about everything. But the hybrids died first. My open pollinators were kicking butt all the way through, right? The good old crookneck, we're just going strong through the year. But the multi-pick, yellow squash, they produced for 3-4 weeks, and then they hit the wall and crashed. So my thought is that the open pollinateds have not been bred for functioning in an NPK fertility environment. They've been selected in a more, soil-like environment, and they've been selected more for flavor, and which correlates with nutrition, than they have been for picking and shipping and things like that. So I generally will err on the side of buying open pollinateds. I buy very few, if any, hybrids actually.
Our notion says that they're bred for NPK. and for
Functionality,
pesticides.
yeah, and for mass
To be able to tolerate mass pesticides.
and thick walls, thick skins for shipping. They're designed to be picked raw, right? I mean, hybrids are not designed. They have not been bred for nutrition,
For taste.
right? Which is taste. There is a good group coming out. You might know about this. Where are they? They're not Fruition Seeds. There's a group which is working with chefs to Culinary Breeding Network. Culinary Breeding Network. I have heard about them, and I haven't tracked them down yet.
Is there any advantage of getting organically certified seed?
I care more about the size of the seed than I do about the label on it. And so one thing I do, and I recommend people do, I'm not sure how many people actually do it, is you identify what varieties you think you want, and then you identify which seed companies have those varieties, and you call them up, and before you order anything, you ask about every single variety, what the test weight is, or the screen size. So, as an example, when I'm ordering this 4 pounds of arugula I ordered for my little research project, I called up High Mowing, and I said, High Mowing, I want Astro arugula. What's your seed size? They went click, 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 250,000 seeds per pound. No, they were 300,000 seeds per pound. I called up, I said, thank you very much, and hung up. I called up Fedco. I said, Fedco, I'm looking for Astro arugula. What's your seed size for Astro arugula? And they said, click, 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 275,000 seeds per pound. I said, thank you very much, and hung up. I called up Johnny's. I said, Johnny's, I'm looking for Astro arugula. What's your seed size on Astro seeds per pound? They said, 250,000 seeds per pound. I said, all right, I'll order it. The fewest seeds per pound means the biggest seeds, means the heaviest seeds, means the best vigor, means the biggest germ. And I don't care so much whether it's organic or not. I care about the test weight. I know there's some conventional growers which are doing a good job with nutrition, and plenty of organic growers who are not. And if my long-term vision is to save this seed for myself, I want to be starting off with the best germ that might give me an extra generation of vigor somewhere along the process. Anybody ever save dill seed? Dill? You plant your dill seed, but you don't plant all of it? And then you get your dill, and you look at the seed that's still in the packet, and the seed that you just grew from that seed, and you're like, it's like 4 times bigger! It's like 4 times bigger! Try it with dill. It's because dill seeds are so big, it's really easy to see.
And then save your dill seed.
And then save it.
Right, it's not just big, it's dense.
Yes, but basically the size of the germ, the weight. So with grain, it's called test weight, right? So 56 pounds is what a bushel of corn is supposed to weigh, and some bushels of corn weigh 48 pounds, and some bushels of corn weigh 62 pounds, and 62 is like
Weight
that's.
density.
What's that?
You're determining density. went.
Well, you're determining whether
test
you've got hydrogens and oxygens in there, or whether
Yeah.
you got
Yeah,
magnesiums
but
and calciums and
density
cobalts in
that
there.
you're measuring.
Right. With bushels of apples, there's the same thing. There's a weight, a bushel of apples is 42 pounds or something like that, 45 pounds. But some bushels of apples are 50 pounds, and some bushels are 35 pounds, right? You see the old grandmother's at the grocery store, and she picks up the squash and she gives it a heft.
Yeah.
She's feeling like that's one thing you can, if you know how to give it a heft, you can feel, is it dense or is it light?
Yeah.
If it's light, it doesn't have, it doesn't have nutrition in it. It has all these light, hydrogens and oxygens and things. It doesn't have the heavy metals that are the compounds and the nutrients you're looking for. You got a question?
A comment, an
Comment.
observation.
Please.
I had parsnip seed one time that was given to me from a home gardener, had an organic garden for many years probably.
Yeah,
Parsnip seed is notorious for not sprouting the next year.
yeah,
I used that parsnip seed. It was stored in a glass jar on an enclosed porch, sheltered, but basically the temperature moderated, but the temperature followed the outside.
yeah,
5 years later, it was still 25% sprouting.
yeah.
Just, the quality of the seed was different than anything you could buy at all. And it lasted that much more life in the seed just because of the nutrition that went into it to begin with.
Carrot seed, you got year-old carrot seed, you better chuck it because it ain't going to
Well, I
germinate.
store all my seeds in the freezer.
I
everything.
store all my seeds in the freezer, absolutely. They definitely don't go bad as fast that way. But, this is a really important topic, and boy, I don't know.
I have an heirloom Anabami. We've had for 40 years. I have a seed crop from '89 in the freezer. It's still
Yeah.
25% sprouting. It's time to grow it out.
I think they found some wheat or something in a Egyptian tomb
Yep.
that was 4,000 years old,
Yeah.
and they planted it and it germinated. Yeah, literally.
Humidity and temperature added together need to be below 90
Yeah.
for storage.
But the vigor of the seed to begin with is the X factor that people don't talk about. They just don't talk about it. And as far as I'm concerned, it's massively important. I don't have an easy answer for you. There is no easy answer. With inoculation, get your hands on some inoculant. It's critically valuable. It's so easy. It's totally inexpensive. Bang for your buck is massive. Seed quality, good luck. Good luck. We're going to try to coordinate something with people to help, get access to better vigor and better vitality. There's a bunch of good organizations and networks around the country that mean well by saving seed, but you have sickly mother plants. The seed off those sickly mother plants is not necessarily something you want to be planting, right? That's the one minor issue that people seem to ignore with all the seed saving stuff that's going on there. Anyway, all right. I didn't talk about culling. The implication on culling is that when you have those tomatoes that germinate at 2 weeks, you should be culling them all, right? Anyone know how hard it is to cull seedlings?
Yeah.
Not hard for you. You know better. You have a hard time culling your cows, right? I mean, you know the importance of culling your cows. You know the importance of culling your seedlings. We'll talk about SRI tomorrow, system of rice intensification, system of crop intensification, spacing, yield potential. It's on the handout for today and tomorrow. I think we'll do it tomorrow. But getting your better vigor seedlings more space will actually dramatically increase your yields. There's some amazing information about that we'll cover.
And
we'll cover
aside
tomorrow.
on culling, some ornamental things, the best colors are in the ones that sprout the poorest and the latest.
The best
Best
color.
colors, yes. The ones that are ordinary usually sprout the quickest, and the ones that have better colors oftentimes are the
Interesting.
ones that come up slower and stragglers.
Very interesting. They're the genetic
The
defects.
opposite of what you want for your vegetable.
Yeah.
I had this understanding that, observation kind of that if a plant doesn't have enough nutrition, like sometimes people say, oh, my peppers produce a lot of peppers, but like they weren't healthy in the seed, it's not dense, and because the plant was stressed, so it's like overproduced yield,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not quality.
I'm not
Kind of
sure.
like a grass plant, like if you stress it, it'll go to seed really fast.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be trying to like just make it to the next generation almost, but it won't have.
I would look at the
Quality.
size of the seed. I think the size of the seed is a really easy way to discern relative value. And if you got a lot of flat seeds with no germ, there you can figure. I mean, most of them won't germinate, but the thickness, the roundness of the seed generally is a pretty good core. Yeah.
I hybridized the daylily the last 10 years, and saving seed is the secret. But I found that if I don't support the plant during the seed maturing phase, I have poor seed.
Absolutely. Anybody know where anybody's ever been pregnant? Yeah. My wife's been pregnant a couple times. It's real interesting to watch a pregnant woman. You know what happens to a pregnant woman when she's not being fed well? Anybody? Yes?
I do.
Yeah. That's exactly what happens, is that the system falls apart.
In my case, my brother was being nursed while I was being formed.
Yes, exactly.
My mother's teeth fell out when she was 22 years old.
Yep. Yep.
All of her teeth gone.
Yep.
I have spinal deformities and other irregularities in my bone
Yep.
because of this deficiency in my lactose intolerant mother.
Yep. When you've got a tomato plant that's 2 feet tall and it's setting its first couple flowers, and those first couple flowers turn into fruit, and they start filling, what you've got, as far as I'm concerned, is a pregnant 14-year-old. Right? She just hit puberty. She has not built her adult body yet. She's pregnant. What's she going to do? Where's the priority go for nutrition? It goes to the baby. The mother will sacrifice her body. The genetics have evolved it this way. The mother's body is sacrificed to feed the baby. We do not understand that when our plants are setting fruit and filling fruit, they're pregnant. They're functionally pregnant, and they're hungry just like a pregnant woman is hungry. And if you don't keep them fed, they'll fall apart real fast. We got all these diseases, right? We got the powdery mildew, we got the downy mildew, we got the blights, we got the insects, we got all these things, and we don't understand that we've got really hungry, pregnant women. They're starving to death, and they're physiologically falling apart while they're trying to squeeze out one last baby, and we're trying to kill the disease. She's just hungry. She's just hungry. When you create the environment where she's getting her needs met, she's fine. She's beautiful in her pregnancy. She's vibrant, right?
What do you feed her?
This is all tomorrow's conversation, is when the plants are growing, it's a,
Tomorrow?
well,
Now you have to come back.
understand that it's,
Pregnant tomato.
understand that it's a living system, and that the life cycles of, you know, the mother and the baby and the germination and the seed and the inoculation and the colostrum and the early childhood development, and I mean all these life cycles, systems and issues and patterns are basically exactly the same. If you understand humans, you understand animals, you understand plants, it's the same. It's life. It's the life cycle, it's the pattern, and you can really, you don't need to read books, you don't need to understand science, you don't really need to take tests, right? You just need to use some common sense and look at the situation and sort of stand back and get a feel for it. It's my experience. We really have the faculties to figure this stuff out, but we need to understand, you know, what frame of mind to be in to perceive. Anyway, I think I've said enough about seed. I'm a little bit sensitive to the fact that we're supposed to be done in 15 minutes, so I'm just going to finish the last couple slides here.
What's the SRISC on?
That's going to be on tomorrow morning's
Gotcha.
conversation.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Potting soil. As I said before, this conversation, this handout was designed to be presented in the fall with a follow-on handout in the spring. And so what I'm recommending here for people is to get potting soil that they're starting their seedlings in that contains much more than your basic rudimentary ingredients. There's this thing called sterile media. Anybody heard of this sterile media? right?
Yeah.
You buy it in garden supply stores. What does sterile mean?
No life.
Dead. Means we promise we've killed everything in it. We are proud of the fact that there's no life in here. Anybody who's proud of the fact there's no life in soil is somebody whose perspective you need to be seriously questioning, as far as I'm concerned. Right? It's a foundational flaw in thinking that a lack of life is a good thing. I generally suggest, and they'll have salt fertilizers in there, little pellets
Yeah.
sometimes, right? That is like antibiotics and an IV drip. You know, you want to make crack babies who are addicted to soluble fertilizer and can't digest their food? This is one of the best ways to do it. Absolute best ways to do it if you want to cross the metaphors back and forth, right? So I strongly recommend against using that kind of material as a starting medium. I do recommend that generally the compost-based potting soils are the best things you can get on the market. Oftentimes they'll be bulked out with some peat or with some vermiculite or with some perlite to make them light so there's air in the potting soil. I don't know why you can't dig soil out of the ground and put it in trays, except it just turns into rock. My experience has been, I'm like, why can't I just start my seeds in the ground like they should start? Tomatoes that germinate in the garden take off and rock,
Yeah.
right? But you can't dig that soil out of the ground and put it in a tray and put the tomato in it because it doesn't act like soil anymore. Is my experience. It doesn't stay loose. It compacts. So anyway, what's that?
I've started it with the garden soil, but it's stuff we put a lot of biology in.
Yeah, I haven't. My experience of doing it has not been successful. But I think one of the key things you need to have is air in the potting soil, and that's why the perlite and the vermiculite and the peat and the coir are all put in there, is to maintain that loft and so that the soil life can breathe. It's really foundational. Anyway, what I've got here is a list of other ingredients you could be putting into your potting soil in very small quantities, but basically the idea is that you want your babies to have a balanced diet from as early in their life cycle as possible. We know what's early childhood development thing. People heard about early childhood development? What goes on in the first 6 months of life, first 2 years of life, has a profound effect on the rest of life, right? Your bone density, your immunity, your psychic skills, like all major life systems. Like when you're born, they're a bit plastic, they're a bit flexible, but then based on the environment you're born into, you sort of begin to set a trajectory, a pattern. Actually, it starts in utero, and actually it starts before utero.
Perception.
Actually, your mother's health status, nutritional status, when she gets pregnant, has a lot to do with it. I mean, as we're studying it, it's moving back and back, further and further into the previous generation is what's coming to find out. But either way, the question is, do you want your children to have macaroni and cheese between birth and kindergarten, or would you like them to have a balanced diet? Because generally, your basic potting soil with not much in it, functionally is like macaroni and cheese. It may keep them alive, but it's not going to build strong bones. And so my suggestion is that you amend your potting soil with some of these ingredients. I don't have anything specific as far as quantities and logistics because I don't know what your potting soil is to be working with in the first place. I suggest you might need to use the cooking trick of, anybody cook? People cook here. How much basil do you put in? A lot. Like, when do you stop putting the basil in? Or the marjoram or something? Like, for me, this is like a feel. Like, it's like almost like a resistance I can feel between my fingertips. Anybody know what I'm talking about? It's like a sensation. There's a very subtle sensation, like, oh, I think that's enough. You can almost feel your whole body like, oh, I want to do more, I want to do more, no, I don't want to do any more. It's like almost like a physiological feeling that I get. It's subtle, but I feel it.
You're way too right brain.
I'm left-handed. We're the only people in our right brain. Yes, exactly. All you right-handers. I'm sorry. I feel for you. I think it's 4 out of the 5 last U.S. presidents have been left-handed Leos. Really interesting. Yeah.